In progress.
Okay, I want to thank and welcome everybody to the public hearing of the Wellfleet Board of Health, October 14th, 2005 at 6 p.m. We're going to be discussing the draft Board of Health regulations dated for September 26, 2025. Anybody who wants to speak to this matter, please come to the table and sign in, and anybody online or on Zoom, please raise your hand. So we're going to open up a meeting. We're going to ask for public comments after we do our meeting. So hopefully we'll be able to answer anybody's question as we go through our meeting, so you'll know, so you don't have to come up and ask a question, because we will have answered your question. Okay?
Okay.
So it's a public hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'll just present the regulations and what they sort of do and require, and the purpose of doing this. These are still more restrictive than Title V regulations under state law. That said, they do roll back the triggers that were enacted at the end of January for best available nitrogen reduction technology being installed for renovations, additions, real estate transactions, and failures. And then they institute a different regulation which requires systems that have to be any new system that goes in the ground. So that would be new construction under the Title V regulations, or an upgrade or a failure. Because if you increase design flow, meaning adding bedrooms, you would have to comply with these regulations if these are passed tonight. And what it proposes is that if you install a new or any new and upgraded system that is installed will require a Title V system that is retrofit ready for nitrogen reduction. So you'll have to submit a design plan showing the components for nitrogen reduction and the adequate space available to install that in the future if the property is required under the targeted watershed management plan. But in the meantime, you'll be able to just install a standard Title V on those systems. It would just have to be retrofit ready. So that sort of future-proofs it. One of the reasons why some other towns have just required you to have space to install it, but not have the components designed into your plan. One of the reasons why I proposed having the retrofit ready with the components that could be dropped in is really to save people money if they do have to upgrade it in the future. Once we know exactly what areas will need to be upgraded and what type of municipal plan is going to be proposed, how much resources there will be targeted towards those upgrades, that you won't have to go back and get new engineering on the system. So that engineering would be already in place. These are only for new systems. So if you're building a new house, you have a failed system that needs to be replaced or upgraded because you're adding more bedrooms. So you're going from a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom system. Then you would have to put one of these in. If you opt for putting a nitrogen reduction system in, you will be able to do that. Obviously, that's your choice to put that in at that time. We don't really have any rules in place about whether you would have to connect to the sewer or not if the sewer goes by your house in that instance. Likely you'd be given some extended amount of time before you'd have to tie into a sewer if you install an IA system or a nitrogen reduction system. But this really gives you sort of the opportunity to put in your standard conventional Title V without the nitrogen reduction components, but with that retrofit ready design. And you would have to enter into an administrative consent order that just says, if it's determined under the targeted watershed management plan that your property is required for an upgrade under that plan, then you would have 2 years within the date of notice to install those components, or whatever phased timeline that the town sort of gives you going forward. So this is a major change from just automatically having to install the nitrogen reduction components. One of the issues around the nitrogen reduction systems that are available now that meet the requirements that we would need to even come close to meeting our targets is that they're only provisionally approved by the state. They're not approved for general use. They can be used by municipalities under their targeted watershed management plan to move forward, but they can only be installed under certain circumstances, and we're hoping that they will achieve general use permitting during this time period as the town rolls out its targeted watershed management plan, which is still under review. And I would just say also the town is currently reviewing a full sewer layout, which would basically cover the entire nitrogen reduction that the town needs without requiring any private septic system upgrades. So ultimately, the number of septic systems that need to be upgraded to a nitrogen reduction system will depend on the extent to which the town moves towards a sewering option. And Eastham has done just that. They've basically decided to use sewering as their primary mode, so they're sewering for the whole TMDL. So when people say sewering the whole town, that's not actually the case. It's sewering for the total nitrogen reduction that's required in each watershed. So there's a lot of discussion, and those things are just sort of around the bend. As far as the select board, that's not our purview on the Board of Health to make those decisions about how much sewering the town will do. But that is on the table, and it is something that's going to be discussed. And those decisions will impact, the number of systems that are required. And what, I think we're hoping on the board is by the time, if we do go towards utilizing private septic system upgrades, there is a program in place and enough financing and subsidizing that these can be targeted into specific areas, and the people who are required to upgrade are receiving adequate subsidies to be the equivalent of somebody who's tied into a sewer system or something like that. But that's still yet to be worked out, and that is sort of why we are revisiting these regulations and why we are proposing to allow standard Title V's to go in and to have this retrofit-ready design moving forward. It doesn't cost much more, if any, to have a Title V designed and the retrofit design. Maybe, Jason, you could speak to the cost of that when you talk the difference in cost between engineering a Title V system and just adding those components to it. So that's the crux of what's being proposed. So there will no longer be a trigger for real estate transactions or a trigger for construction that does not increase design flow. And then when it does get triggered, the trigger would be for these retrofit-ready designs, so standard Title V with the space to add the components. That is primarily the changes in the regulations. There are a few other things. Cesspools would still be considered a failed system. So if you have a cesspool that under our current regulations, that is a failed system in the town of Wellfleet. Under these regulations, that failed system would now have to be installed as a retrofit-ready system. And again, we don't know if the sewer is going to go past your house at this point. And so what we don't want to do is be putting these things in areas where we're going to run an expensive sewer main through the town and have people not connecting to it or people paying twice. And so these regulations may change as things move forward and we understand exactly what the town is is going to do, and the Board of Health can then amend those regulations to conform to that. But this is sort of, I think, a prudent way to move forward without installing new systems. We don't want to look to the state like we are not making any kind of progress or initiation towards nitrogen reduction. You will still also be required to install IA systems, and this dates back to 2017 in areas that are within the buffer zone of a wetland. So under this, it's 100 feet from a wetland. The nitrogen reduction standard now is 13 milligrams or under rather than 10. That does give, 10 was, there was only really one system that met 10 milligrams per liter, and that's probably violated, the competition requirements for other systems. You can't really just only allow one proprietary system. So 13 will allow, there's two systems that meet that, that nitrogen reducing standard. And once again, it takes 5 years of 50 systems in the ground before they can achieve general use permitting, which means they're allowed under the state of Massachusetts for general use, not just provisional, which means less monitoring costs and also basically a certification from the state that these are systems that the state approves for general use, just like, most people, I think, want to see that when they're putting a big investment in the ground. So the other major things is there is one change that's not so really related to nitrogen reduction, and that is a requirement for abandoned systems and failed systems. When there's a failed system, normally you can abandon the components. What we've done is added that if you're within 200 feet of a coastal bank or 100 feet from a salt marsh, you would not be able to abandon the system. You'd have to remove the components. That's because of either flooding in a salt marsh could expose those components out into the marsh, or if you're by a coastal bank, you're subject to erosion. And what we don't want is, 30 or 40 years from now, a septic system, falling off the edge of the dune. And so as the erosion goes back, new systems would be then 200 feet, wherever that is. That's really just about abandoning your leach pit, your leach field, your septic tank in the ground somewhere by a coastal bank. Now you would have to remove that when you put a new system in. Let me see if there's anything I'm missing here. The definition of new construction reverts back to the state Title V definition, which is what I spoke of earlier. So it does no longer include additions in habitable or conditioned space, only in increased design flow, which means adding more flow, either a bedroom or some type of aspect to your property. You could be adding like a commercial kitchen to your property that would increase the design flow that your system was designed for. Those would trigger an upgrade that would be part of new construction or actual new construction on unused property. The other thing that it does because of that is ADUs are not considered new construction under state Title V unless they add design flow. So if you have a 4-bedroom septic system, a 3-bedroom house, you would be able to add an ADU into that existing facility. This is state law. Without upgrading your system, it wouldn't trigger an upgrade. If you have a 3-bedroom system and a 3-bedroom house, you'd be able to move 1 bedroom from the house into the ADU. That would not be an increase in design flow because design flow is based on bedrooms in a residential property. And I can't think of any real other major changes than that. There's a little bit of changes to the financial hardship, if and when you have to install. Again, I think the town seems to be moving, and I don't want to speak for the select board or the town, towards treating any septic upgrades as a municipal infrastructure project or a municipal project or public utility. I don't know what their terms are going to end up being, but not to shift the burden of the nitrogen reduction onto individual homeowners in the future. So I think from the discussions that the select board has had recently and our joint meeting, they seemed committed to that process, but also to really exploring the extent of sewering and the cost of that and really doing a good cost analysis similar to our neighboring towns. If anybody has anything I missed, I think that pretty much sums up.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I just love hearing myself talk. So now we're going to open up the floor to anybody who has a question. Please, you come up to the microphone, sign in, and identify yourself. I liking this so far. Is there anybody online, Jen?
Jude Ahern.
Jude? Jude? Oh, well, yeah, we're going to let Jude go first, so.
Where did she go? I asked her to unmute. And
Jude, can you hear us?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, we can come back to that if we can find her. So please come to the microphone and identify yourself and what's your question.
Hello, my name is Lisa Bergeron, and I have two questions. Thank you for doing this. Thank you all. The clarification on the
Get closer to the microphone, please.
Clarification on two things. The ADU, does the ADU have to be attached? If it's not attached,
No.
would it need a
The
separate?
The ADU is usually not attached to the primary home.
Well, it can be.
It
It may
doesn't
be,
have to
but
be.
normally it's not.
Because
but
there
it
was
could be.
something in the ADU literature that got a little
Okay.
confusing, so that's great to know.
Yeah.
And then you said if it has a leaching field, so now anyone that has a leaching field in Wellfleet needs to upgrade?
No.
Okay.
No, they can share a leaching field. The upgrade is if you were to increase your flow
Okay,
beyond what your system capacity is, that would be an upgrade or an improvement to your system. Also, if you were to upgrade from a leaching tank because you needed to move something, I think you might be required to put in a leach field. If you had to move a leach tank or your leach tank might fail, then you would be required to do a retrofit to a leach field. Or whatever's, there's also pump chambers. There's a couple different systems that are allowed, but like pre-1995 systems are no longer allowed to be installed anymore. So if you have like a leaching pit, that's no longer a compliant system, but it's still allowed to remain. And you don't have to change that if you sell unless it fails, like it doesn't meet the distance to groundwater or it's not leaching properly, and then that would be an upgrade to the system, and you would have to put in maybe you'd have to put in a mound system or whatever. In that instance, you would have to do a retrofit-ready design when you go to get it redesigned. That would include it would include sufficient space, access, and site layout to accommodate the installation of the components, a reserve area or other capacity to support additional treatment technology, and a stamped engineered plan which includes all necessary nitrogen-reducing technology components sufficient to allow future installation without substantial redesign. So that's what you'd be required to submit, and then you'd be able to install it without those nitrogen components.
great,
Yeah.
thank you. And they have to vote on these, or we can get these now?
We will be voting on them this evening.
On these regulations.
These regulations for us, yes.
And the other thing about ADUs is under state law, you have to have two tanks. So when you add a tank to your system, I don't know if that constitutes an upgrade or not. I don't think so. But in order to add an ADU or a second unit on your property, even on an existing facility, Mass DEP has clarified that you need to have 2 tanks in series, 1 for each unit, or at least 1 for the principal dwelling and 1 for the ADU or ADUs, even if you're sharing a leaching field. I mean, the technicalities of that, are going to have to be gone through the health department about.
Do you mean even if there's no increased flow?
Yeah, they just require 2 tanks, 2 separate tanks. I don't know exactly why they do that, but they do.
Yes, go ahead. Please use the microphone.
Yes, my name is Sharon Rule-Agger, and first of all, thank you so much for your work on these regulations. These seem much more reasonable and tolerable to the community. And thank you, Michael, for clarifying that on the second tank, because that was my understanding as well. And do you know if you had more than 1 ADU, would you need a 3rd tank, or is 2 tanks fine?
I was told by our previous, I never discussed it with Heath, but by Hillary, when I had gone through the process with her, that you just needed to have that second tank in series. So you need 2 tanks, not 1 tank per each unit, but
Okay.
1 separate from the principal dwelling.
Good to know. And finally, my real important statement here is that I'd love to see some room in these new regulations for emerging technologies, such as urine diversion and composting toilets, which I think can, DEP is moving towards permitting these systems and doing test piloting and that kind of thing. I'd love to see Wellfleet put together a pilot system to see if we could actually do that. That would be a great way to collect data on this, and maybe compare it with the sewering and that it could potentially be quite a bit less expensive and more effective. So just please include that in your deliberations.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's allowed currently from DEP as even provisional use, if it's still piloting.
I think most of them are all pilot programs.
Yeah.
There are some in town already that have some things like that.
Composting.
Yeah, composting. It's just not, common out there for them
Right.
to be used. But they are there, and we do allow them if they do fit our regulations.
So
I
I think there's a lot more
also-
movement in that direction, you'll find.
Yeah, and also it's just important to note that the Targeted Watershed Management Plan is not completed yet, but even when it is, it's an adaptive plan. And so if the town, for instance, were to opt for a full sewer layout, they wouldn't have to apply for a watershed permit until around 2030. That's the deadline. That's when your clock starts ticking. You have a 20-year window to meet 75% of your nitrogen reductions over that 20 years. Within that time period, if new emergent technologies are allowed to be included in the Targeted Watershed Management Plan, because one of the issues is that DEP has to approve the plan.
Absolutely.
And up until recently, they were not allowing the inclusion of pilot plant projects, but only provisional use permitted projects, my understanding. And so if these urine diversion systems move into a provisional use type of system, then they could be included in the plan. So whether we allow them or not, we still have to meet the nitrogen reduction goals through a Targeted Watershed Management Plan, where they're giving, the state is giving us credits for putting these things in a plan. But over 24 years, things can change. And so if we get 10 years into this project and we realize, well, hey, maybe this makes sense for people to be allowed to do, if you're building an ADU and it's new construction, it's a lot easier to double plumb something than going back into a pre-existing house from 1996 and try and have two separate drains for everything, and that becomes maybe more feasible. So, yeah, I mean, I think if DEP allowing it and we can allow it, then I don't see any reason why not to
Great.
allow that option.
Thank you.
moving
I'd
forward.
just like to see the door left open on
I
that.
think these regs are like a work in progress and will
Yeah.
change over time.
Yeah, I just want to see the door left open for it, so
Yeah,
It
thank
is
you very
open.
much.
It is open. Yes. Please sign in too.
Oh, yep. I also want to thank you and the town for reconsidering and all your work. I have a quick clarification. So if a dwelling is within 100 feet of a wetland, are you only having to switch to the IA if you are adding a bedroom?
Yes. Or you have
Well,
a
no,
failure.
there are regulations that even predate, everything that we're
Yeah.
going through recently.
Right.
Where if if your lot's not big enough, you need variances that will trigger to put in an alternative system into the ground, which not going to be as expensive as the plans, as the systems we were thinking about, but there will be plans or triggers that will go into effect where you're going to have to put something else besides the regular Title V into the ground. Or the one with the,
Your well water.
yeah, your well water. There are numerous triggers that could affect it, but more than likely, most of the systems will be fine with, if you have to do something, it will be just the new Title V systems that are retrofitted for the upgrades if need be.
Okay.
Yeah, and the IA systems would be the pre-existing triggers from 2017, which
Okay.
is basically failures and upgrades.
Okay.
It wouldn't be construction-based, right?
No.
Okay.
No, it would not be construction based.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you are adding design flow,
Okay.
that would trigger it.
Okay.
Are there any more questions? I'm hoping we're answering a lot of people's questions this evening and hopefully alleviating a lot of concerns. Jen, is there anybody else?
There's a bunch online.
Okay, please.
Okay, we'll hit Jude first, and she had her hand up first.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we have you now, Jude.
Great. Thank you, Chair Grenlund. And as everyone said, thanks for your work on this. And I listened to your last meeting, and that was very interesting. I think that it would be wise to do something, as we all know we need to, and change the definition of new construction back to what the state defines it as, and also increase the nitrogen per liter to 13 versus 10. But beyond that, I think we should pause, because I have been following this very closely, and I have 3 pages of questions and issues. And I just listened to the select board meeting at 4:30, wherein they were talking about the sewer district. So I want to remind everyone that we still don't know the capacity of our wastewater treatment plant as it's proposed. It's at the transfer station, as everyone knows, but because of the overwash at Duck Harbor, they need to remodel that. So right now, I'm not sure if it's like 600 or 800 is the capacity, but it's very likely to go down. And so this idea that it would be town-wide, or that Pleasant Point where I live would be sewered, is probably not possible. Maybe it is, but we really just don't know. The change to definition of wetland concerned me only because, through my own experience, it depends what maps we're looking at. And I know that the floodplain definition was changed and specifically referenced the most recent FEMA map. But I didn't see that really in the wetlands definition. And I can just say, like in my neighborhood, where the ACEC line that my surveyor did is quite different than if you go online, and online it says definitely don't use these for any legal reason. So I think we really just need to come to a consensus of what maps we're using. And there are just so many other things. So there's not enough emphasis on monitoring. I think that if there's a real estate transaction 2 years ago to test that system is not recent enough. I think statements like, if you have an IA system, you wouldn't be eligible to this money that might be out there, isn't fair. because we've already put in these systems. There's 200 to 300 of us, and to say things like downgrading to an IA system, I think the definitions of the IA and the EIA does not exist as far as the state's concerned. So I really appreciate all the work. I think Teagan Bond is going to help with this. We have our peer review consultant talking about doing townwide sewering, but the things that have been changed, like abandoning the cesspools. I mean, I've sat on, I can't even count how many CONSCOM meetings where they say fill them in, that it's less disruptive to fill them in. Or my neighbors who just came before you last week who said, we want to do the right thing, and I believe that people do. I did when I put mine in. But nobody asked them what their numbers were in their current Title V, nor did anyone ask if they had an abandoned cesspool from there before, because they quite possibly do. And nobody mentioned that they're within, I think it's 200 feet to a public drinking supply. And the public drinking supply is also in these regs. And I think it's a good first step, but I think we should limit it to the 13 and the new construction. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
We'll have Kathleen Bacon.
Kathleen?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we have you.
Good evening to the Board of Health. For the public record, Kathleen Bacon speaking. Tonight, you're considering rolling back the town's present septic regulations to those that resemble more of the ones that we had in 2017. I'm asking the board not to do that. The present septic regulations drafted by the prior board were a good faith effort to meet the DEP's mandate of nitrogen reduction. The changes that the prior board adopted are not meant to punish the community. Their sole intention is to be proactive in reducing the leaching of nitrogen from Title V septic systems. Let's look at Wellfleet's geology. The town itself was formed from 3 islands. It's 3 miles wide from bay to ocean. There are 26 freshwater ponds, several vernal pools, and several significant estuaries that all are a part of a larger coastal system. In truth, we are made up of equal parts of water to land mass. Nitrogen from Title V systems is leaching out into the harbor that supports a $10.5 million shellfish industry. It's leaching out into the sole source aquifer that supports our wells and supplies our drinking water. Since January 25th, 2025, the former Board of Health has overseen the upgrade of 16 Title V septic systems to nitrogen-reducing systems. All 16 of those properties had some form of interface with the harbor. There are people, in particular like the people that were before you at your last meeting, that do want to do the right thing, that care about the health of the environment. The septic regulations as they stand now are what we can do to protect our environment and water quality. Neighbor to neighbor, we should all be on the same page when it comes to our water quality and our environment. I hope the town will develop a strategic financial plan that will help residents with the burden of cost. I ask the board to stay the course with the present regulations. We are, in my estimation, 10 years out from seeing a sewer line. Should the board see the positive benefits from letting the present regulations stand, we can all slowly see the benefits to our environment. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Bob Dupuy.
Bob?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to also thank the board for coming before us with these new information about these systems. Very, very important. I have a question though. So I think I represent a number of homeowners in Wellfleet. We have existing Title V systems. They work properly. We're not going to expand our dwellings. We're just going to keep them the way they are. We're not within 100 feet of a wetland. And our septic systems are properly separated from our wells. What happens in these cases? Do we need to have some sort of upgrade for the upgrade-ready systems, or do we just stay the course and do nothing for now?
From
Thank you.
unless we see plans, we can't really judge anything, but more than likely, you will not have to do a thing. If you sell the property, if there are other triggers that come to in effect at that time, then something may have to be done. But if your Title V is working fine and in the ground right now, you're going to live there, you have no concerns, the the new health agent, when we get one, has no concerns, you don't have to do a thing.
Yeah, over a certain amount of investment in the property, there has to be an inspection of the Title V
Well, there are
system.
always inspections being done. You should be getting, looked at quite often, but you more than likely will not have to upgrade your system at all.
Thank
New
you.
Construction.
Okay? All right, thank you.
Thank,
Felix was next.
did you hear that?
Yeah, go ahead, Kurt.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we have you.
Oh, terrific. I basically think that I appreciate the work that you've done. I think the main driver for the changes in these regulations to back off having to do anything really has to do with the lack of a financing structure to support enhanced septic systems, nitrogen reducing septic systems. The petitioned article that's later in your agenda was designed specifically to address that problem. And, I think to me, the wisest thing to do, whether it's this version of the Board of Health regulations or as Kathleen was advocating the prior version of the Board of Health regulations, either of those sets of regulations still require that in order for residents to be treated fairly, right now the cost is reduced to just the design of the enhanced nitrogen reducing system. So that's still a cost that the homeowner is bearing. But if there's a finance structure in place that covers the installation of advanced treatment septic systems, and the town is effectively setting up, as Mike mentioned, a public utility, the main driver for changing these regulations goes away because the cost is shifted from the individual homeowner to the town as a whole, in the same way that the cost of installing the sewer system is shifted to the town as a whole. The watershed plan has to address the nitrogen removal requirements for the entire watershed, except for which covers almost all of the town of Wellfleet, except for a little bit of the northeast corner that drains to the ocean. So each and every resident in the town of Wellfleet, except for those folks by law, is going to have to do something in the way of either connecting to the sewer or upgrading their septic systems. Somebody else prior to me also mentioned the capacity at the transfer station. I was involved in doing the work to qualify the transfer station as the wastewater treatment facility location. It makes sense. It probably, I think there's concerns that we really don't know whether it could handle the entire town or not in terms of the capacity. But I will say there's a concern that's come up recently, as recently as June. There was a report released. It was a national study which was looking at where PFAS is across the country. And one of the highest concentrations of PFAS was found at wastewater treatment plants. So what that really means is that if we put most of our wastewater into a treatment plant at the transfer station, PFAS is going to be going out into the Herring River watershed and could potentially affect the harbor. I know this is a relatively new development, but it's a very, very serious one that calls into question whether we're even going to be able to use the transfer station site as a sewage treatment location. The other thing that it raises is whether we should honestly be looking at more advanced treatment septic systems as a result. And so my feeling is that the board's best position would be to suspend the regulations, whichever version you want, suspend them until a financing system is in place to cover the additional costs that homeowners who are going to be faced with an on-site treatment system, can in fact be, I don't want to use the word subsidized, but basically that the public utility will engage with that resident to install whatever needs to be installed, and the resident would pay the connection fee and their ongoing, the equivalent of a sewer fee. But suspending the regulations, given the lack of financing, to me makes the most sense. And that's my comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes?
Yeah,
Mike?
just respond to a few of those things. The primary driver is not just financing. It's the fact that there's a plan that's incomplete. We don't know the extent of the sewer layout. We don't know how many properties will be sewered. And the more properties that are on the sewer system, the less properties that need treatment. The ratio is about 2 to 1. 2 properties on the sewer is equivalent. 2 properties on enhanced INA septic systems is the equivalent nitrogen reduction of 1 property on the sewer system. So it's near a 2 to 1 ratio. It's not quite 2 to 1. And so the more properties you have on a sewer system, which achieves a total effluent level of 3 milligrams per liter, whereas the best nitrogen reduction technology is rated at 10 milligrams per liter. The second best is 11 milligrams per liter. And so your nitrogen reduction from being connected to a sewer is less, which means less properties need to be treated, which means that under the initial plan that the town proposed, it required a downtown sewer system out to the end of the cove, and then it required nearly every property to also be treated with enhanced septic systems, but not all properties. The idea of doing a community solution is that everybody benefits from the reduction of nitrogen. And so the benefit of having a wastewater treatment facility is that you can add the technology to treat emerging contaminants like PFAS at a single location rather than having them being dispersed all through town with no treatment. And Mass DEP has signaled that there will likely be in the future requirements for towns to address PFAS. And if you're doing all these upgrades of nitrogen reduction systems, but you're not treating phosphorus, you're not treating PFAS, you're not treating other volatile organic compounds, you may have to treat those in the future, which could require doing this all over again. The benefit of having a sewer system is that you are sending most of your effluent to a single location where they can add the technology to treat that at that location. And that is something that DEP emphasizes. The other issue with just randomly putting IA systems throughout the town without a targeted phased approach under the current regulations is that you could end up overperforming in a watershed that doesn't need the reduction where we already have sewering, and underperforming in watersheds that need reduction, say in South Wellfleet where they're not getting sewering, costing the overall aggregate cost of the town quite a bit higher. And so, no, it's not just the lack of financing, which is also a problem and something that the Board of Health can't control because it's not up to the Board of Health to finance projects. But it's also the fact that we don't have a complete plan. And enacting a plan that's not complete without financing is not a cost-effective or equitable solution for taxpayers. And so I just want to respond to that.
Thank you, Mike. Jen, is there anybody else?
Yes, sir. We have Carter now.
Carter? Carter, can you hear us? Is there anybody else, John?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Can you hear us?
Yes, we have you now.
All right, sorry about that. I'm kind of new at this thing. My main concern was just,
your name?
I think you clarified it earlier.
Yeah, could you tell us, you had Jessica Carter up there, is that your first name, your name?
Yeah, Carter Kane is my last name.
Thank
And
you.
I'm a owner of a couple of the Brownies cabins. And I have one up for sale, and it's, with all the septic regulations, it's been affecting anybody from buying it because we don't know what's going on with the septic system. Are we able to still sell the property without upgrading anything as long as the septic and we're not increasing any flow or anything like that?
Yes, there would not be a trigger to upgrade the septic system under a real estate transaction unless it's a failed system or an upgraded system, in which case you would have to.
You would have to do something,
Yeah,
yes.
and in some place like
Policy.
Brownies, I don't know if there's a groundwater discharge permit. I don't know what the gallons per day are, so we can't comment specifically on your situation, but real estate transactions would not be a trigger to upgrade to a nitrogen reduction system anymore.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else, Jen?
Kara Gilbride?
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we have you now.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair Grunland. My name is Kara Gilbride. I'm calling from Connecticut as a potential Wellfleet home buyer. Carter did not set me up. I just found out about these future changes when talking to a realtor yesterday, so hopped on just to listen to about this. You answered the confirmation that a real estate transaction will no longer trigger a fail, so thank you for that. Can you expand on the sewer plan for the town? I mean, I know that this is a moving target here, but are you aiming for 100% coverage at some point in time, or are certain streets never going to be covered because of
Well,
air?
right now, the select board is going through that. That's not in our purview at all. Right
Okay.
now, as far as we know, the entire town will never be sued, but there'll be targeted areas that will be sued.
Okay, and the red line version online, I feel like you guys just mentioned there were some changes. Were they changed since last night, or when were the updates that you're discussing today made?
When Jennifer posted those,
Those are the updates.
those are
Those
the
are the updates,
updated
yes.
ones
Okay.
that are posted online. I think they were posted last week.
Yes.
Yeah, last week they were posted. They were only minor changes to address town council comments.
Okay, so you answered my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we have Ben Woods.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
All right, okay. I just wanted to offer a different perspective, I think, than some of the previous commenters, and that is the perspective of a young family trying to get established in Wellfleet, which is an ever more scarce person in this town. For me, I'm a born and raised Cape Codder, and it's been a dream to try to come home and actually live and get established back home. And in the middle of our project, to have a possibly up to $100,000 increase in the septic cost made it possibly impossible or extremely difficult. And then the lack of clarity around that, well, I understand some people urging you to slow down or to wait and take it slow. The domino effect of that thus far has been that I've been bouncing around with my family, my 5-year-old daughter, between temporary housing, commuting to Wellfleet Elementary so she can, feel at least some semblance of routine and getting established. And reversing these regulations would be just an absolutely immense release of pressure on our shoulders as a young middle-class family that's not looking to buy a rental property to make money, or we just want a home. So I wanted to offer that perspective as well.
Thank you for that, Ben.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's all I got online.
Okay. Is there yes.
Do I write my name down again?
No, just introduce yourself again, please.
For the record, Lisa Bergeron. Just to bring up one point, if I understand, if I'm guessing, 50% of our properties here are not year-round, they're empty 8 months of the year, maybe more. From what I understand from IA systems is you can't stop and start them, they don't work correctly. So you can't install one. That's what I heard on one of your meetings, that if it stays not running, it's stagnant, and something happens to it, but I can't remember what.
The bacteria inside can die.
Yeah, so they have to get restarted. There's a cost to that where they introduce the bacteria back into the system. They don't perform evenly on that first initial startup. Sometimes there can be issues. The newer ones do a little bit better, but also there's potential problems with like we have a lot of seasonal homes where there's cleaning happening. If people are dumping
A lot of
bleach down the
sanitizer
drain,
down into the
sanitizers down the
toilets,
drain,
the sinks.
they
That can kill the
impact,
bacteria as well.
as far as I know.
So, and if they're vacant 8 months of the year, they're probably not giving too much of a load.
No, and that's the case throughout the town, but the reality is that the load is based on what it is. So that includes the people who aren't here. So our nitrogen reduction loads in our estuaries have to be reduced. And each watershed has a specific target of how much reduction it needs. And there's,
I'm aware of that.
yeah,
And then the other thing is from the state, from the DEP, they don't know if this will work
there has
to
been,
reduce it enough.
Well, if we were to try and use general use IA systems that are approved for general use at 19 milligrams per liter, we know that we can't meet those targets under that nitrogen reduction. The only thing that might work is the provisional use systems. And it's my understanding that there's some risk involved with doing that because the long-term performance of these systems these provisional systems has not really been established out, 20 years. This project we have to continuously make sure that we're reducing this nitrogen.
So that's why I'm in support of your new plan.
Well, and a lot will determine on, what extent sewering is done. But we did have, and for everyone's information, and I don't want anybody to think that this takes away the expense of treating nitrogen because it's going to be expensive either way. It's really how we pay for it and who pays for it at a given time. And that's what needs to be determined. But we did have a life cycle cost analysis of septic systems, and that cost came pretty close to per property over the life cycle costs compared to the life cycle of a sewer system, which would essentially be like around 70 or 80 years compared to a septic system, which is around 30 years or whatever. That cost comes in close to what it would cost per property to sewer, but you need a lot less properties to sewer. So and I don't want to speak out, I don't know these numbers for sure. I've seen some preliminary numbers, but it could be similar, the aggregate cost to the town, if we were to sewer for the total TMDL or to use EIA systems for the hybrid plan that was initially suggested. It may even be slightly cheaper over that extended time period.
Yes. Go ahead.
Hi, Ann Suggs. I have.
Put that down.
There we go. I have had to install on 2 properties the innovative alternative technology. And it was my understanding at the time, one, that the state regulations required that if you installed one of those systems, you would be required, when and if a sewering system was within proximity, you would be required to abandon that. And I thought I heard you say earlier, Mike, that that's maybe not the case.
That would probably not be the case. What you do is you'll have the lifespan of that septic, of the system that you put in the ground. You got like your 30 years is supposedly like what it's guaranteed, the lifespan of that. After that 30 years, then you'd probably have to hook up to the sewer system.
But that said, it's really going to be determined on on whether we can meet the nitrogen reduction goals. Likely you'd have an extended time period. There's a requirement for Mass DEP that everyone eventually hooks onto a sewer system if the sewer system runs by their house.
Right.
But the Board of Health can create regulations that allow for an extension of time. And whatever that time extension would be probably has to be determined by whether we can meet our nitrogen reduction goals. So, in Provincetown, they allowed people to keep their septic systems until they failed. In Orleans, if a system was put in within 10 years, they allowed you an additional 10 years after it ran by your house. So it really depends on how the town determines whether it can meet the nitrogen reduction goals, how much time they would give. I know there was some talk about if you had installed an enhanced INA system that meets that low nitrogen number, that you would probably be able to keep that. This was under the previous Board of Health. That you'd probably be able to keep that for the life of the system if it's the under 10 milligrams per liter or under 13 milligrams per liter. But I don't think we've gotten there yet as far as what that timeline would look like. But
Okay.
Because what we're doing tonight, this is a living, breathing document right now. There will be things that'll be added in, like the circumstances when you put this in, sewer comes by, we will have regulations designed for certain things like that at that time when we get to that point.
Right. So that kind of leads me to my next question, what you were describing about meeting levels. What, if anything, and I don't know if this board can answer it, is the town doing about nitrogen that's not from septic systems?
So,
Because we have, 30% at least of contributed nitrogen from road runoff and fertilizer.
yeah, there are some road runoff provisions that we did recently with just the highway plan. There's the Herring River opening, which I don't know how much credit we're getting for that. That's kind of an unknown quantity. There was discussion of using a PRB that I think is still on the table, which is a permanent permeable reactive barrier that could potentially go around Duck Creek. That's still sort of on the table, I think. I don't think that's been totally quashed.
Who is that on the table with?
The select board, they're the ones.
That's that's pretty much out of our purview, anything like
Make
that.
those decisions.
We can't touch that stuff.
We can send recommendation letters to the select board, but that's about it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Jen, what do you got? Anything else? Nope.
There's also some fertilization,
Yeah.
fertilizer management activities. I don't know exactly how that's going with the golf course and some other things. Yeah.
All right, so does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. So Jen, now we're going to close this meeting, this public hearing, and then we open up just a little Board of Health? Or no, we just keep going? We are going to vote on this. All right, so thank you, everybody, for your comments tonight. So now we all looked at these. We're all enjoying any comments that we have on any of this. Do you think we have to go down on them all, or can we just take it all as one shebang?
Yeah, we can take it.
Sarah?
Go ahead.
I would like to make a comment. I appreciate all the public comments, both online and in the room tonight. Specifically, I just want to address the point that Sharon Rule-Agger made about hoping that in our way forward with these regulations and the broader trajectory that we're on as a town and as a county, that we leave room and have specific language that allow for emergent interventions for reducing nitrogen and phosphorus, and that we have the Barnstable County Clean Water Center, formerly known as Mass Tech, right in our backyard, right down in Sandwich, as well as the Green Center in Falmouth. There are pilot projects that are piloting some of these emergent, not new, I won't say new technology, these technologies and fixtures. Urine diversion and compost toilets have been in use for a long time. The emergent part is that Mass DEP is interested in collecting data and doing pilots. They are involved in a pilot project in Falmouth, and I would love to see Wellfleet become a pilot site for some of these things. Compost toilets and urine diversion are proving worldwide and in these pilot projects in Falmouth to have a much lower cost to individual homeowners, a higher, better environmental outcome. Our goal here is not sewering. Our goal here is not improved septic. Our goal is clean water and a balanced ecosystem, and I think everybody would be in agreement with that. And so if clean water is our goal, then let us really utilize the expertise that we have here in Barnstable County. And hopefully, so I'm bringing this to this part of this meeting because I think that having language in our regulations is important. Compost toilets and urine diversion are accepted I'm having a hard time with the lingo. Technologies under Mass DEP, but there is not currently enough data for these to be of general use, as you mentioned. And so I'm wondering, how can we create space in this document to not rule that out, to not have these tools not be part of things?
Well, I don't think we could do it tonight, but I'm certainly happy to look into what Falmouth has in their Board of Health regulations, because I think they've updated them. I mean, I think it's probably that they will allow you to opt for those as pilot projects when outside of the targeted watershed management plan at this point, so people are doing it, and basically you just don't get credit, but if it's actually functioning under your watershed permit, your total nitrogen reduction is going down.
It's going down and helping.
Yeah, so I think it's something that we can look at in the future. This was really a process of sort of like keeping things simple. I think there is some complexity with trying to add that to the targeted watershed management plan at this stage of the game, but we're not part of the targeted watershed management plan. Really, we're reactive to it or responsive to that plan, but that doesn't stop us from allowing those type of pilot projects from taking place. So I'd be happy to take a look at Falmouth, and we can bring that up at another time, just in an open meeting, and discuss how we can fit those in. Yeah, I think it makes sense to look at it and to allow people to pursue that, especially when it comes to, I think where it's easiest is if anybody's building something new or renovating something, to add that.
They come
double
before
plumbing.
us, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
And-
especially as you said, ADUs are perfect example of that. There is some language in our current document, for example, is it waterless toilets?
I think there's some, yeah.
And then there's general clauses about approved AI technologies under Mass DEP, and if these systems are approved, then it does
might
feel
already be
like-
there.
Yeah.
It might already be there, and we can maybe mention it specifically. I haven't looked into that, but that would be part of the old regulations dating back before, around 2017 or before that language. That's nothing that I added has been throughout. So, yeah, I'd be happy to look at that.
I don't think that these regulations that we're talking about tonight, we should hold off and amend any language for a lot of reasons. There's a bunch of people waiting.
Correct. I'm not proposing that we hold it up.
No,
either.
I don't think anyone's.
No, I
against
appreciate
what
bringing
you're
it up
saying.
as part of,
Yeah.
part of comments. That's, yeah. And I agree.
So Katie, do you have anything you'd like to talk? No? Mike, anything more? Any questions?
I don't. I am working on a set of frequently asked questions and answers for people to access through the website. I'm working on that with Gary right now. And if any board members have questions that come up, or people ask questions, or as people ask questions to the health department, we can update those. Jason, do you mind if I call on you for a second to ask you a quick question? What is the sort of cost difference between, this is Jason Ellis, he's a septic engineer. Sanitarian.
Fine, get it right.
All right, I'm sorry.
So the nice thing about the way we design systems today is everything's done in computer. So every site that we design a septic system on, it's uniquely different. It has different topography, different features, structures, everything else, well locations, septic locations. The components themselves in the design, they actually come in as what's called a block or a template. So we draw it once, and then we can regenerate it without having to redraw it in each drawing. So once you get the base work done of the design plan, which is the survey work, developing the site plan, all the other features of the lot, that's about 95% of the work, the perk test, that kind of thing. That's all unique to each lot. Incorporating the IA design or the retrofit design, it's like an extra hour's worth of work for us because it's all template at that point. So it's really easy to do a retrofit design. And it's almost
minimal.
negligible.
No.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Thank you. I just want to
Thank you very much.
clarify that for the people, for the public. Okay, I have motions.
So, yeah, well, I'd like to ask for motion, so we agreed that we'd like to take them all as one and not go down each one, correct?
Yep, yeah.
Then I'll ask for a motion to approve the new Board of Health regulations.
Okay, I do have two motions here. So one is to make the approval, and the other one is a release of people who are kind of stuck in the middle and haven't installed yet, so that they can come back if they have to, or whatever. So I'll just make the first motion, and I move to rescind the 2025 septic regulations, section 600 through 614, and adopt the amended septic regulations as presented and attached, including the updated definitions to align with the adopted text. Said regulations to supersede prior versions and take effect October 15th, 2025. That'll be tomorrow.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Sarah?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Ken, aye?
Michael, aye.
They're approved for nothing.
Okay, and then. And so I have one other motion, and we can discuss this if we want. I moved that effective concurrently with the amended septic regulations, the board rescinds any requirement to install best available nitrogen-reducing technology or enhanced innovative alternative technology systems that arose solely from the 2025 regulation upgrade triggers, including, without limitation, real estate transfer, renovation alteration, increases in conditioned floor area or failed systems where installation has not yet occurred. Affected owners may apply or reapply for permits in compliance with the amended septic regulations. Failed systems, cesspools, and imminent threats to public health must still be repaired or replaced in accordance with 310 CMR 15, Title 5, and current local regulations. This motion does not create any right to reimbursement or compensation for work performed under prior regulations. Systems already installed under prior approvals remain lawful and subject to all applicable O&M monitoring requirements. Existing board-issued administrative consent orders may be modified by board vote upon written request to align with the amended regulations. Nothing in this motion waives any obligation under Mass General Law, Chapter 111, 310, CMR 15, or any Mass DEP order or approval.
Okay.
So these were reviewed by town council.
That was reviewed by town council? Okay.
Both of them.
All right, so I got the motion. Can I have a second?
I have a question.
Sure.
Yes.
So if we're going to promulgate these regulations and they'll be effective tomorrow. How are we going to deal with the consent orders immediately?
I've already updated the ACO
Mhm.
and sent that to Jennifer.
I sent it to town council, but I haven't heard back.
Yeah.
So we're not quite ready to rock because we still need to have,
One thing that we can do is we can try and get a rush on the approval of that ACO, but it was based on a prior approval. I mean, I'm comfortable with the way it is, but I would like a sign off on it from town council because it does say that in the regulations. But what we can do, this is now only for new and upgraded systems, so it's not all of these other triggers, so it shouldn't be that many. We can say, hey, prior to the approval of your permit, you'll have to sign this ACO. The ACO should be available within, I would say we'd be able to, under these circumstances, we'd probably be able to get it back pretty fast because it was a town council document with minor changes to the timelines.
and so anyone who previously in the last couple of months was asked, to
Do an ACO.
is
They
they're
haven't
released.
even gotten those
No,
from
no, they haven't
before
gotten
because
them,
they
and they
didn't
don't
have
have
it
to do them
ready in the
anymore.
last time, the last time they did the regulations.
I don't think the public knew that, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a huge hurdle.
Uh-huh.
But we do have to get it approved, but we can say, hey, people apply for a wastewater permit, they're not installing the next day, you know? So as long as they're submitting that plan in good faith and we have a document to show them, and maybe it's not the final document, but it should be available pretty soon. I mean, I didn't draft the ACO, town council did.
No, I just think it's important for people to understand.
Yeah, totally.
There's a little transition.
There may be a little transition, and then we'd like to get that up into the OpenGov, so people can just sign it when they do their application. But in the meantime, they can apply, and the petition would be contingent on the signing of the approval would be contingent on the signing of the ACO. Yeah.
Okay, that was just a little diversion, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think
That's
that's good. I forgot
it's a
to
good
bring that
question.
up because Gary had brought it up
All right,
earlier.
so, Sarah.
Back to the motion.
Back to the motion. All in favor, Sarah?
What, no one seconded it, did they?
Yes, Sarah did.
Second.
All in favor?
I'll second
Oh.
it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. I'm going to make a little announcement. To save us and our secretaries back, anybody would like to grab their own chair and put it away, it would be very welcomed. So thank you for that. Yeah,
And there
well,
is-
We're not done our meeting, but if you are leaving after you just heard what we just went through, you can
There's
quietly pick it up and put it away for us.
There's
Thank
one
you.
thing before we close this public hearing that I just feel like I need to restate, is that we do need to, we are passing regulations that are still more restrictive than Title V regulations. And the purpose for doing that is that we are a nitrogen-sensitive area, dedicated as a nitrogen-sensitive area by the Mass DEP, and that gives us the purpose and authority to be more restrictive than state Title V.
All right, so now we're moving on to,
Do you want to close the hearing, Mike?
yeah, I would like to close.
I move to close the public hearing.
All, second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. All right, so now we have a discussion. Kurt, are you there?
Yeah, he's got his hand raised.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you, Kurt. Give it 1 second, Kurt. I'm saving Jen's back and mine. Thank you, everybody, for putting your chair away.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just drove from Prince Edward Island and got here at 5.
Ooh. Is it rainy up there?
No, it was
No?
beautiful.
Oh.
Yeah.
Welcome to Wellfleet. All right, Kurt, you're all set. Go ahead.
Terrific. I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. What I'm looking for is hopefully a vote to recommend this petitioned article. I'll read I know you've got it. Hopefully people have read it, but for the public that may not have seen it yet, it's basically a petitioned article to see if the town will vote to establish a municipal public utility for the purposes of providing water, septic, and sewer services to the residents of the town of Wellfleet, Massachusetts, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen or other appropriate municipal authority to take all necessary actions to create, manage, and operate such a utility, including but not limited to conducting studies, acquiring property, entering into contracts, hiring staff, and adopting regulations necessary for the administration and operation of said utility. The purpose of the public utility shall be to ensure that the cost to any resident are equitable, whether the resident is connecting to a centralized sewer system or receiving septic system upgrades provided or facilitated by the town. The utility shall be responsible for developing and implementing policies, programs, and funding mechanisms to achieve cost equity for all residents requiring wastewater management, regardless of the method of service delivery, or to take any action relative thereto. The rest of it's available elsewhere. The purpose really is to get the town of Wellfleet up to the level and standard that most other communities currently have with respect to administering water and wastewater. There are roughly 351 towns in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and virtually all of them have a water and or water and wastewater public utility. The town of Orleans actually has a board of water and sewer commissioners. Chatham has water and sewer commissioners. Eastham has a water management committee and a board of water commissioners. Wellfleet currently does have a board of water commissioners. Truro has a water resources oversight committee that's inactive. Provincetown has a water and sewer board. So our closest communities use exactly this approach to handling water and wastewater. Obviously, this is very complicated and extremely detailed and extremely difficult to understand. Things are changing fast. And so the idea behind this is to have experts within the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners and take the burden basically off the Board of Selectmen and to some extent off the Board of Health to the extent that the Board of Health has been, I think, unfairly castigated for, document or creating regulations to basically comply with the direction that DEP is heading with regard to technology, and also to implement the town's wastewater management plan.
Kurt,
So,
can I ask you a question?
sure.
This petition, where it says petitioned article in our packet, this isn't the entire thing. Is that right?
I don't know what's in your packet. I sent the document, which is the petitioned article, which is going to show up in the town warrant.
But this isn't what I saw as,
We have a page and a half. The petition article we have is a page and a half.
it's only,
Okay.
the petitioned article I see here is 2 paragraphs and then a summary.
That's correct.
But that's not what I saw under the petitioned article prior.
I don't know what you're referring to, Mike.
I'll bring it up.
All I know is what I submitted, and which was approved by the town clerk.
So but basically what you're doing, you're asking us to see if we'll support you in this petition, right?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, a vote to recommend. Obviously, the board has a right to recommend or not recommend, or leave the town meeting. But my feeling was that the Board of Health has been enmeshed in this issue, and to some extent really shouldn't have been enmeshed. And what the article does is creates the institutional infrastructure within the town of Wellfleet to get the money to take the burden off the backs of people who are potentially going to have to do septic upgrades in particular. That's kind of a unique feature of this article. The language here is basically the language that was used for virtually all the other articles in other towns to establish a board of water and sewer commissioners. So basically, this is a Wellfleet water, septic, and sewer utility. So it would create the the infrastructure to assist, to recruit the talent and the expertise, to implement and continue to, adaptively manage the wastewater plan.
So we currently, can I ask a question, Kurt?
Sure.
We currently have a water commission, right?
And
That's
a sewer
correct.
commission.
Okay, and we have a sewer commission, which is the select board.
We
And,
have sewer commissioners, yes.
Yeah, we don't have okay. And are you trying to say that we should lump the water and the sewer together in one entity?
Yes, that was the recommendation of basically the McCormick Institute did a study in I think it was either 2018 or 2019, and they recommended exactly that for the town of Wellfleet. They did an assessment of all town government operations in Wellfleet. One of their recommendations was to do just this: create a water and sewer utility, or water and sewer commission in the town of Wellfleet. The Board of Water Commissioners resigned in part because administration was not really supporting the board. I'm the sole member of the Board of Water Commissioners right now. We do not have a quorum. I think, these are the most expensive assets that the town of Wellfleet has and will have ever in terms of the financial impact on residents. And we deserve expertise in that particular function within town government. And I think the Board of Selectmen, being as burdened as they are with their mission at the moment, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, they're stretched, the town administrator is stretched. We just don't have the capacity to deal with the complexity of, implementing a wastewater plant in the town of Wellfleet, running a sewer system, and also dealing with what we're going to do with these septic upgrades. So this is the other thing that I wanted to mention is the town residents currently cannot access SRF funding or other funding that would be available for them to upgrade their septic systems. Only the town can. So, that's something that I think is essential so that septic upgrades at least get the same treatment as sewer upgrades within the town.
Can I ask you another question? Are the people who are on this board or commission volunteers?
They are.
And are you an expert?
I am.
And so you would like everyone who's on this commission to be an expert?
Well, that's up to the Board of Selectmen based on applications that would come in. Technical expertise, engineering expertise. There's a variety of expertise that that the board would require. Legal expertise, engineering expertise, biologic expertise. So you may have expertise in a particular area that is relevant to serve on the board. I don't know that there's, certainly there's no certification, for this particular area. But, as applications come in for any board or committee, the Board of Selectmen looks pretty carefully at those applications to see if the person is suitable and has the right expertise to serve on that committee, or in this case, the commission. So
Yeah, but I mean,
I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. I mean, I have a master's in public health, but it doesn't mean I know anything about septic systems or wastewater. And so when the water board was actually functional, what kinds of, we have municipal water in town, what kind of issues arose that you guys worked on?
Well, I think the most relevant one here is that the Board of Water Commissioners and the Wastewater Committee worked very hard to get a water and sewer department manager position approved at town meeting a couple of years ago. That position still hasn't been filled. It's over 2 years. And I think in part because there's nobody beating on the table or responsible really for seeing that position gets filled. If this water and septic sewer utility were in place, the institutional infrastructure to make sure that happens, it would be just about the first priority is to staff this commission with expertise within administration.
So Kurt, have you gone to the select board with this at all?
They voted unanimously not to recommend.
Okay. Yeah, go
One of
ahead,
the
Mike.
other things, Ken, I'd like to just add, Aaron Perry at the Cape Cod Commission mentioned that since about 2018, 309 million in subsidies and 1.2 billion in projects have been approved by the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund. If we had this particular facility within town government, we would have much sooner been able to careen those funds into the town of Wellfleet. You don't have to have an approved wastewater plan to be acting on some of the elements of the plan at town meeting, as we did by creating the subsidy of $10,000 or basically something to cover the incremental cost of an advanced treatment septic system 2 years ago.
Do you mean the 12,500?
Yeah, and the original article was designed to cover the incremental cost, which now is closer to $22,000. So, a resident would have been responsible for their Title V septic system, but the town would assist with the additional cost of the advanced treatment system.
And so the Board of Selectmen they are not promoting this concept?
They are not, and you'd have to ask them why. They are currently the sewer commissioners. I really can't speak for any of the members of the Board of Selectmen on this, other than to say that this is the way that all of our neighboring communities and the vast majority of cities and towns in Massachusetts manage their water and wastewater assets.
Okay. Sarah, do you have any questions?
I guess where my thoughts are, there's a difference between having a board of experts and having a public utility. Those to me are two different things. And this petitioned presented article is specifically addressing adding a public utility. And I think the former, having a board of experts who know, whose expertise is in water, septic, and sewer, is helpful and benefits the town, benefits the Board of Health, benefits the Select Board, and that I would welcome the continuance of having access to such expertise and collaboration. This proposition of adding a public utility, seems like a very big deal, and a big step in a different direction. And I don't feel like it's something that I could vote to support tonight. I'd be interested in continued discussion about it. But
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
You wouldn't put in a public utility. I mean, certainly, as a Board of Water Commissioners, the people that you recruit to the utility are people who have expertise in that. One of the bullet points here in terms of the purpose, the administration, oversight, the utility would be overseen by a dedicated water and wastewater commission. It would have professional staff, qualified staff, contractors who will manage daily operations, maintenance, billing, and customer service. The features of this type of a utility is that the Board of Selectmen would be appointing people who have expertise to manage the utility. I mean, that is the purpose. So I think really it's one and the same.
Okay. Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, so this proposes to basically combine the sewer commission into the water commission.
That's correct.
The water commission currently has one member, and that's you. And I do find it interesting that you adamantly objected to the select board being voted in as a sewer commission on town meeting. And they were voted in, so we do have a sewer commission. The sewer commission is already discussing creating a public process or decentralized sewer system to treat EIA systems as a public utility. The sewer itself is a public utility by its very nature. And the water system has been running in the red since the beginning, pretty severely. The town subsidizes that enterprise fund annually. It does not require mandatory hookups to people who are on the system. Again, it seems to be requesting that the town put all the authority under the Water Commission and away from the Select Board, who has just hired Ty and Bond as project management oversight to help promulgate sewer regulations, and then they will be contracting with a to get full financial analysis on the sewer system and the EIA systems. All these functions that are currently going on under the sewer commission would suddenly be shifted over to a water commission that really only has one person on it. And I don't see how this is a benefit to the town at all. And I think at this current stage, and maybe the sewer commission will be an elected commission at some point, I believe Mass General Law requires sewer commissions to either be the select board or an elected commission. And I do think it's pretty common practice throughout the state of Massachusetts to have separate water commissions and sewer commissions to set rates and to manage the utility. What it's requesting here is that this authority would take all necessary actions to create, manage, and operate the utility, including but not limited to conducting studies, acquiring property, entering into contracts, hiring staff, and I can't read the last thing, adopting regulations for the administration and operation of the utility. And do you think that that should just be done with a group of volunteer commission members under the Water Commission?
No, the additional members would be added. I'm not even sure I would serve on this. The purpose is to get us in line with our neighboring communities. Orleans does have a board of water and sewer commissioners. Chatham does have a water and sewer commission. Provincetown does have a water and sewer board. This is how our nearby communities are managing their assets. This isn't personal at all. It's really to get the town in line with our neighboring communities and to bring in the expertise. All of what you just mentioned, Mike, would move all of the people who are currently engaged in our wastewater management plan would be overseen by this Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners. The Board of Selectmen really don't have the bandwidth. I mean, they may want to or feel like it's important that they be in charge here. I think that's potentially a little bit of a, I don't want to disparage the board in any way, but I can't understand why they wouldn't support adopting an infrastructure within the town that's just like our local communities.
I guess I feel like we should hire the staff member, that you discussed. That's a priority over this, maybe.
Yeah, and when they hired Ty and Bond, it was to sort of supplant the fact that we don't have a wastewater director, but Eastham does not have a wastewater director, and they just instituted a full sewer system for their centralized sewer treatment, which will treat their entire nitrogen reduction, or at least what they believe it will be.
So this firm will act as the sort of consulting.
They will act as a consulting body to consult with the select board, but the decisions and spending and
they still come through the select board.
They still go through the select board.
Yeah.
and it's common for small towns to have their select board be the sewer commission, at least at first.
Yeah, but Mike,
Especially
what
in a
I'm just
planning
telling you
phase.
what our local communities are doing. You said that twice.
I don't know that
But
it
that's
matters.
actually not true.
I don't know if it matters, Kurt. I mean,
That's actually not true.
I'm not against what you're proposing, but I don't know enough about it, and I'm not sure that volunteers, I don't know. I don't feel ready to say, yeah, this is a good idea, and let's put it on the, annual, whatever we're going for here.
We also
Town
don't have
meeting.
an approved targeted watershed management plan, and it's very much in flux right now.
All right, well, Kurt, I want to rate this moment the way that the board is sounding. I do not think you're going to get, I don't know if I have to ask for
I think we would vote if it's going on the warrant.
Yeah,
then we'd vote to
right now,
recommend.
Kurt, the way it's going, I don't think you're going to be able to get approval from the Board of Health to support this. Truthfully, I do not like the idea of like a public utility. Some of this scares me. I don't know enough about all of this, where everything's going. So right this moment, if you came before us a month ago and then we had to look at it, digest, maybe I could say, yeah, I like the idea. But right at this moment, I wouldn't be able to support it at this moment. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for, do I have a motion to approve this?
I said I'll move to recommend the petitioned article, Wellfleet water, septic, and sewer utility, and the board can either vote yes, no, or abstain if you don't feel like you have enough information.
Yes.
And so then it'll be printed in the warrant.
I'll second that. All in favor?
I would
of
say
this?
no.
Okay.
I would like to abstain.
Katie?
I'll abstain.
And I'm going to abstain as well. So I'm sorry, Kurt, we cannot approve this on our part. So I'm sorry about that.
It would be printed.
Thank you.
0 yes.
It's too late to get it into the.
Oh, it's too late for the warrant?
They wouldn't ask us. They never ask us for our opinion anyway.
Supposed to.
They never ask us for anything.
That's an administrative error, I think.
No, how
We
to?
want it, though.
Yeah,
Actually. Or when I was on the board, we always wanted it. It was just.
They never asked it for our.
There, yeah.
No, they never asked for our opinion.
Well, thanks for coming and talking to us, Kurt.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
anyway, Kurt.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for considering this, and I certainly hope that the town,
For anything, Kurt, this is it's going to put a fire under people, because it's kind of something to think about. And the way the boards in this town go now, to try to find anybody to sit on a board is painful, as you know, for certain. So, but thank you very much.
thank you.
So is there anything else we need to talk about? I'm asking for a motion to adjourn.
I'm making a motion to adjourn.
Second. Me. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much, people.
Okay.
And look at all those chairs that are gone, Jen. You just-
Recording stopped.